Might remember this French Revolution sword from the unboxing video I made and the bending tip straightening video I made, and I think it's time to clean it up. So obviously we want to take a deeper look at some point and kind of discuss the history of this model of sword and speculate on what happened here on the hilt, but in order to do that we want to have a nice clean blade. So today we're kind of doing that. Okay, so I have the feeling that by now you're all quite familiar with what my cleaning process is, so we're gonna dive into that right away. I'm using a bunch of old dirty rags for this one. One, because it's really dirty, but two, because as I mentioned in other videos, when the abrasive side is already kind of used up, it becomes less abrasive, or that's kind of my empirical feeling. So I would rather use something that has less scratching power rather than a completely new sponge that risks taking off more than I would like. We'll start by giving you a good close-up actually. So we'll start by the hilt. Well, the hilt won't need a lot of cleaning today. Of course, it's brass, so we know brass is the perfect metal in terms of preservation. It doesn't corrode, it doesn't tarnish too much. We'll obviously dive into this aspect that I mentioned in the unboxing video, in the video where we actually talk about this sword and its original model and style, and we can speculate, but I just want to quickly show you what conditions it's in at the moment. One interesting detail, and I feel like it may be original, here's where you have normally the leather washer, but in this case it's red fabric. So I don't know about fabric versus leather, what the traditional usage was, or what this may say about the sword, but yeah. So in terms of the blade, I mentioned the blade is in fairly decent condition. You can see some engravings. Some of them are the standard boilerplate engravings you find on swords of this era. What was interesting to me was this half moon, this very small half moon, which I've not seen. Usually when you have these standard kind of figures and symbols, they don't really move away much from the standard, whereas this is a little surprise. But other than that, the blade is in fairly good condition. It has a couple of nicks on the edge in the area, like at the last third, so where you would expect, actually, like at the percussion point, let's say. So that's what you would expect from light use, I would say. So a couple of nicks here. You see there's some active rust, but nothing has been pitted so far. There's no like deep corrosion, nothing. Here's the blade, where the tip where I straightened it out. So yeah, this was the maximum I was comfortable with, given that this is a very flexible and light blade. So this side is actually the best of the two, though. Focus is not working. Okay, here we are. So this is the best of the two sides. You'll see that this side is way more rusted, but I'm glad to say, apart from this kind of section here where you see this red rust where it's started to corrode, you can feel it going into the blade. The rest of the blade is still rather in good shape. So I think that this one will be a great candidate for cleaning because I expect it to turn out really lovely. So we'll start by giving it a wipe down with oil. And this is just basically to remove the dust, basically, and the dirt. So we'll just quickly, oh, yeah, oil has the tendency to slip. This is just a quick clean, let's say, just to get the dirt off. Sometimes I skip it too. Sometimes I go directly to autosol, but in this case it was quite dirty, so I feel like it won't hurt to oil it up. I'll try to be a little bit careful with this fabric. I don't want to damage it. But okay. So moving on to the autosol phase. In this case, I'll be quite generous with it, and I'll move the camera just a little bit so that, as usual, I can lean the sword on the edge of the table and this kind of fix the blade in place on a flat surface. And with that done, let me angle it so that you can see the blade. We'll get to work. So you'll see, at least in this first pass, I want to be really delicate. I want to remove everything I can, but also not press too hard so as not to damage the engravings. As I mentioned in a few other videos, you slowly get a feel for the blade. So you start feeling the resistance, let's say, of the dirt and grime. And you also feel as it comes off, basically, and the blade gets smoother. So here I'm moving more towards the tip. So not a lot of pressure, just a lot of consistency, I would say. And making sure we get under the guard here. Oh, okay, that's out of frame, but trust me, I'm going under the guard. And then we'll turn the blade over and take care of this side as well. Another bit of alto, and off we go. Okay, that was a lot of alto actually, but it's okay. You see it getting really dark and dirty right away. That's all basically dirt and rust and grime coming off. So that's a very good sign. You may be hearing some scratching noise. That's basically the sponge hitting all the nicks on the edge of the blade. So this is why you want to be a little careful with your fingers. You don't want to have those edges catching on your skin. Okay, so I think the time has come to clean it up. This is the first clean, so it might be that then we decide to do a second pass after we see the results. But you'll see basically the blade is all covered in its usual grimy and dirty autosol. You can see everywhere. And as we wipe it off, we should hopefully discover some nice results. So I think you can already, you might have already seen some of the engravings popping up a little more visible. So let me see if I can get them in frame. But yeah, you can see them there. So you have like some trophies and panoplies, flowers and plants. This was, of course, the dirtier side of the blade, if I'm not mistaken. And here on the cleaner side, we actually have that moon I was mentioning. This is really cool. More plants and more military trophies. I'll clean it up more in this area because I've done a bit of a shoddy job, and then we'll check it out. And the blade is clean. Let me just give you a quick show of what it looks like. You can see some traces of gilding. Actually, this was probably blue and gilt at some point, or at least gilt within the tracks of the engraving, I think. But that's long gone, of course. You can just barely see some traces. So on this side we have some flowers, a trophy, some more flowers here. And on this side we have more flowers, like a grapevine, I think. This section I was hoping might have some writing, but it's actually just scribbling decoration, so I don't see any writing there. There's a little branch engraved here on the spine, kind of like in German style almost. So not any writing or anything, but overall it's looking really nice. This is the area that was the most corroded. So you see some initial pitting, and you can feel it with your hand here. Like I would say this is the deepest point of pitting, but it's hardly, you can hardly feel it, to be honest. So overall, I would say it's in way better conditions than it may have appeared when we started cleaning. So I'm looking forward to maybe from this angle you can actually see that gilding a little bit better, or what's left of it. Let me see. Yeah, there you see. This is really cool. You can kind of see the leftovers of the Now, this is why you always want to be delicate with abrasives, because if you go to town with it, you're going to remove even these leftovers of color contrast. And that's not something you want to do. Of course, with this kind of sword, the priority is to clean it and preserve it, but you also really don't want to remove too much. And this is the reason, because now you can still see this kind of color contrast. So anyway, this is going to be a very cool... wait, of course, let's oil it. So actually lacking a cleaner rag, I'll use this clean sponge to apply oil. And there we go. The edge still bites, so yeah. This is what I'm comfortable with in terms of cleaning. You could go further, I suppose, and polish it more, but I really don't want to. So this is the best I can do. And here we go, oiled blade. So I hope the light is a little bit aggressive, but we should be able to see some nice details, I think. Yeah, so here you see that color contrast. You can see it really well. You can see that moon, these plants, the trophy, these decorations on the ricasso. Yeah, overall a really nice sword. Yeah, as I mentioned, I think I'm really looking forward to talk about it, so which we will do in a upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another sword video. Bye.